Hi guys, welcome back to Diga Gitana. My name is Abby. In this video we're going to be going over fixed signs. I went over cardinal signs in my last video, and then we're going to be going over mutable signs in my next video as a prerequisite to my shadow astrology series that I'm going to be doing on the YouTube. So starting with fixed signs, there are 4 fixed signs: Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. All of them have very distinct qualities, and they also have they're part of each element on their own, as well as the cardinal signs were. So with fixed signs, the thing to note about them is that they don't like to move. They're kind of like the opposite of cardinal signs. They are very much wanting things to be stable for a longer term, not short term necessarily, but a longer term. When it comes to change, they're very much if it's going to add something good, sure, but it's kind of a little bit hard for them to get unstuck in ways. But there are certain signs like Aquarius, which will be very much futuristic. So I was always looking into something more evolutionary than maybe some of the other signs. And then Scorpio being a fixed sign, but also being the sign of transformation. So they basically have to change. You just don't like to have to go through the change. So it's kind of like a fun time. The cardinal signs. The fixed signs rule 4 different houses in astrology. They rule the 2nd, 5th, 8th, and 11th house. We are going to go over the houses, but just to kind of quick recap, the 2nd house is really the house of money, values, daily routine, just to give a small kind of overview. The 5th house is the house of romance, expression, creativity. Again, it's ruled by Leo. So the 2nd house is ruled by Taurus. 5th house is ruled by Leo. So you can kind of see how their personalities kind of go into the houses. Then there's the 8th house, which is the house of sex, transformation, death, it's a lot of things, and that's one's ruled by Scorpio. And then the 11th house, which is a house of friends, society, really like social networking, all that good stuff. And so if you look at those houses, and then you look at the signs, and then you look at how they kind of play out in the world, you can tell why those houses don't really want to be in too much change. Because if you look at the 5th house of fun and romance and all this stuff, why would you want to be going through a lot of traumatic stuff in that house? That's why it's really a fixed house. If you look at your 2nd house, going into Taurus energy, and then and it's your house of money and values, why would you want your money to change unless it's improving? You know what I mean? So it's like a tug and pull with fixed signs. They have to kind of get pushed to move. Some move faster than others. As slow as probably being Taurus for sure, because they live in their own abundance level, but they get very frustrated when they haven't reached their own abundance level as well. So it's they have to get there first. So with fixed signs, it's really all in the name, because they are really fixed. They're very stubborn. They can be very stubborn. They can be very much really stuck in their ways sometimes. When you're looking at going into shadow astrology, which we'll be going more in depth later, but if you're looking at it from okay, how does this affect me on a negative way? How does fixed sign energy affects me on a negative way? I can tell you, being a Capricorn, that we get called stubborn a lot. It's something that just happens. We just get called stubborn, which is good, because we are stubborn. We do pretty much, I don't want to say we rule all the earth signs, same as the cardinal signs, but we lead the other earth signs, because we're the ones that create movements in order for us to move. So out of all the 3 earth signs, Virgo, Taurus, and Capricorn, we're the ones who actually pretty much leave our stubbornness. We have to. That's why if you go into tarot and we're the card of the devil, our card is literally stubbornness. Because that is our darker selves. We do like to maintain, like Taurus, we like to maintain that area of oh, comfort and like abundance and we're just great and we just don't want to move, but at the same time it is in our nature to move. But with Taurus is definitely like they like to stay in that place, which can lead to a lot of things. You can end up being in an abusive relationship because you don't want to change it. Like you have to, if you end up looking at the planets and looking at the houses which it falls in, you can see how fixed energy really affects your personality and where you can be just stubborn, unmovable, unchangeable, where you can be the negative tones of that sign that falls in that house. Fun fact about me, I have fixed signs. All of my cardinal houses are in fixed signs, which is hilarious to me. It's really a fun time, honestly. It's a fun time because I think because I am a cardinal sign, it isn't my nature anyway to move, but I also can see myself where I'm very comfortable and I can get lazy and sometimes, and I'm just like, I just want to chill and watch a movie and like, just let's just spend the day or whatever. But then there's other parts of me that are like, okay, we need to get this done. We got a movie. So this kind of interesting balance, how that works. But it's interesting how my most powerful houses are in fixed signs. And they do allow a lot of transformation to happen in those cardinal houses, because ultimately that energy of movement is still going to come through within those signs. It's just that it's going to be a little bit harder to get to if you kind of resist it. Resisting change is really something that fixed signs have a problem with, because, or actually that they do. They just resist change a little bit more than usual. That's why if you guys kind of go with the vibes of it, Scorpio season is probably one of the darkest times of the year, just because it's very much a very transformative period. Like Scorpio energy period eventually pushes you to transform anyway, so it feels like a like it's like churning and churning and churning, and things are just getting taken out of your life and taken out of your life because that's not for you, and then you're like churning and churning and churning, and finally you get through and you're like, okay, transformation over. And it's something that it's not fun to go through. Again, like Scorpio doesn't want to have to go through the death process over and over and over again, but it's something that they do. It isn't within their power to transform. So being too fixed in their energy, they can really be inactive and not make moves when they should. And that's really kind of when you're going into the negative connotations of the fixed signs, because there's good parts of it. Like Leo's not a negative sign, but it has negative attributes if you're looking at it through a shadow side perspective. If you're just like more if you're using like that own power, because for example, like take Scorpio's really a really good sign to bring up manipulation, because they do it probably the best out of any sign. Arguably you can argue Cancer, but Scorpio does this probably the best, and that's kind of on a shallower side of their nature, their fixed nature, because if they want things to stay their certain way, they might convince you to stay in that way that they want you to. Now there's a positive way to manipulate and there's a negative way to manipulate, but ultimately it's kind of like that that instinct of wanting to just stay that makes them, that can shift the energy either way to being, okay, this is a positive experience or this is a negative experience. This is stopping my growth. This is not stopping my growth. And when you're like evaluating like your chart and you're looking at it, you're like, okay, well, how am I using this energy? If I have like, I don't know, like take me, I have again, all of my cardinal houses are fixed signs. So for me, it's like, I have my second house in Leo, which is really fun because this is my house of like I have my first and second house in Leo. I'm a Leo rising. But for me, like that's kind of, it's a fun one for me because I feel like the negative sides of it is that I end up taking cabs, like the way it manifests in real life. Like the negative sides of it is I end up taking more cabs than I probably should in my life because I just like being comfortable. I hate sometimes getting on the train. It's super crowded. I just want to chill and be in the car. I love getting driven places. It's such a Leo thing. But that's also like affecting my money because I'm ultimately paying for it. So I have to look at it from a, how is this affecting me, and how is my ego, because ultimately Leo is very related to ego, how is that my need to just be pampered directly affecting my money, because it's in my house of money. So I can see how it plays hand in hand into my finances a lot of the time, like the negative shadow side of Leo nature plays into the negative aspects of that house of money. And that's really kind of how it is that you need to look at it. You need to kind of get into, okay, what is the negative parts of it, and how can I use that energy for it to be in a positive way, or like you can use it in a more productive way, or how can you make it so you're comfortable. So for me, it would be like, okay, instead of me spending all this money on cabs just because I feel comfortable, how about I put all my energy in getting to a financial place where I'm already like, it doesn't matter if I take cabs because I have enough to do that. So it's kind of like how to use that fixed energy to get yourself where you need to be, so you can then stay fixed but still allow yourself to evolve, because ultimately you're not going to just have all fixed signs in your chart. That's kind of impossible. That would be crazy. If somebody has a chart like that, please send it to me. I just want to see it. But yes, so it's very interesting how fixed signs kind of play out in your chart. What else can I say about this? Fixed signs are definitely very strong people. Don't piss fixed signs off, I would say. That's not something that you want to do. They're very stubborn, so they're not going to change their mind about a topic very easily. You kind of have to have it. Aquarius is probably one of the cooler ones to have this discussion with, because they're more open to, I mean, they're all about society, and they're all about looking at things from a different perspective, from an outside perspective. And there's like a term in psychology about that as well, but that's literally what Aquarius does. They can see things from an outside perspective without literally, even if they're in that same situation. But there is darker aspects of that, because then when you get to outside perspective, you get to detached. That's something that I kind of do sometimes. I also have Aquarius in my chart. My Venus is in Aquarius, which is always a fun time, because having Venus in Aquarius is almost like it doesn't even make sense in ways. Like, we're very loving people, but at the same time we need space. We need like to be detached. We need to do our own thing. And the shadow side of that would be too much detachment and too much like, society, and like there has to be an interconnection between the two. So when it comes to fixed signs, it's really about being comfortable but not being too stubborn, and allowing your because your cardinal sign, like your cardinal placements, will have a bigger impact, but your fixed signs like placements will also could have a detrimental impact on your chart, your behavior, your habits, your process of healing, because you might just be too stubborn. You might like really fixed sign nature can literally turn you into like an alcoholic, a drug addict, like all the things that you can get really comfortable in. It's really like the 7 deadly sins complex concept type thing. Like, you can really get stuck in those behaviors if you kind of use it negatively. I'm not saying that smoking or drinking is like super bad, unless it's tobacco, because that shit is not good for you. Stop smoking. You're polluting my air. Anyway. But yeah, unless it's like you're using it, if you're using it properly, it can be a beneficial thing to you and your body. Like, if you're using like Taurus energy to really make your body be maintained, like you're always working out or you're always doing things to benefit yourself, then that's a beautiful thing. I'm not saying anything against that, but there's also different ways that you can take that as well. So definitely look at your fixed sign placements and see where they fall, and kind of go over the signs. We will be doing more shadow astrology work, and I'm going to go over the planets and everything. I kind of been not wanting to go over the planets, because in my head I'm like, I'm going to have to start with the sun, right? So explaining the sun to people who all they know is their sun sign is kind of frustrating, because they're all ever like, oh, but I don't relate to this. You have to look at the whole chart though. So we're gonna go over how a lot of videos coming up, a lot of stuff coming up. So yeah, all of my links and stuff are gonna be down below, and yeah, thank you for watching and stay blessed.